So this guy, A Bo, is asking, what do you do when you're being disrespected on a date? I've been kind of talking with him in the chat here too. This chick was on his first date with him, just starts talking about all the bisexual activity she does, all the dudes she sleeps with, hitting on people in front of him. He goes, what do? So the gist of mine was just get up, put your money for your bill, side of the bill, and just walk out. Don't say anything. Don't engage.
Hard next.
Yeah, but that's the thing. A lot of guys think they need to teach her a lesson and say something.
Right.
Don't.
No.
You're not gonna. She's not gonna learn anything.
Here's the thing. The reason, and it's.
Oh, I'm supposed to take a sip every time you say listen. Somebody said I got a drinking game. I got to start.
Yeah. Listen, I say listen a lot. That's a verbal tick of mine. And if you listen very closely, you'll see that I'm really not interested in correcting that verbal tick because I want people to listen. but here's the thing. Women will test you. I've dated women who try to talk about their sexual past with me, but they don't wait. Most of them wait until and they don't consciously do this, but a woman rarely talks about her sexual past on the first date. But she is going to test you at some point down the line. And it's not like she consciously tests you. And again, we have to understand that women have this inverse projection in that they think the things that attract them to us are going to attract us to them. So if you are pre-selected, if she checks your Facebook feed or your Twitter feed and she sees you with a bunch of girls, she is going to then in turn think, okay, well, I need to talk about all of this lesbian action I've been getting involved in. I need to talk about all the guys that I fucked. And at that point, you need to check her. But if she does it on the first date, there is no lesson to be taught. You teach her that lesson, a week or two down the line. Oh yeah, there's this guy that I slept with. Whoa. Hold on, real quick. I'm not interested in the guys that you slept with. If you want to talk about that, go talk about it with your homegirls. You're not going to talk about that here. Do you understand? You look her right in the eye. And if she gives you oh my God, I can't believe you just said that. You don't say a goddamn thing, right? And at that point, she's got one of two choices. She can either get the hell out of whatever it is that you guys have, or she can heed your warning. I don't want to hear about your lesbian action. I don't want to hear about your sexual past. This is a turnoff. And sometimes you have to tell sometimes you tell her, hey, thanks for the medical report. I think that's a racy favorite. Or and this is a shit test as well. Well, this guy slept with and that guy slept with blah, 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 blah. Just tell her straight up. Don't talk about that stuff. Well, I don't mind it if you talk. Listen, I told you not to talk about it. I'm not putting a gun to your head, but you have a choice. You can either talk about that by yourself, or you can not talk about it with me. Shut that shit down, man. That's the only answer there.
Right. All right. We have a caller. You said you wanted to get somebody. All right.
Yeah, let's go ahead and get the area code 778. I appreciate you holding, man. You're on live with the Red Man Group. Go ahead.
Yeah. G'day, legends. This is Josh here. How are you?
What's up, brother?
Good to speak to you. All right. First off, I want to thank you so much for the epic work you guys put out there. Follow you for a while.
Thank you.
In Canada, bit of a different environment over here than back home. But yeah, boys. So I really want to can I feed off that last topic that you were talking about? Like for me, that's popped up. I'm in a relationship at the moment, and that's popped up, and I haven't said anything because I've been like, it's for me. I'm like, it's a bit better to be like, I don't want you to talk about, your previous sexual experiences. Like, could you riff on that a little bit? Like, how is that not being a bit of a bitch?
Well, it is, but it's also a shit test. But again, a lot of times women shit test subconsciously. They don't do it consciously. Do us a favor. Give us an example of how she brings it up. Give us an example of when this happened. So how does she bring this up?
That hasn't happened for me for a while. Like it was more
sober?
Fucking, and we were both fucking other people. So
damn, all right.
Like it would just be, I guess we were both openly talking about sex, which was before I read the 9 Iron Rules, and I was like, damn, shouldn't be doing that. But yeah, more in that time period, like since we're not just like fuck buddies, it hasn't happened so much. But I was just curious.
Yeah, I think when girls start to talk about other guys that they have slept with, just shut it down. Well, I used to date this guy. Whoa, wait a minute. Don't want to hear about that. And just leave it at that.
Okay.
That's all you have to. You don't have to explain anything.
One of the things you need to understand is that when a woman does something like this, I always kind of lean back to the medium is the message. Why is she doing that? Why does she feel like she has to say something like that? Why does she? Well, what is the sort of the latent purpose of that? And it's like, yeah, I mean, why does a woman say? Why does she feel like it's necessary to even bring that up? And a lot of times when this is just me talking here, a lot of times when women do this, it is an indication of her being an alpha widow. Okay. So when a woman starts saying, well, you know, my old boyfriend XYZ, or I was so crazy when I was in my college years, right? Usually when I hear those kinds of terms, or when when a woman starts talking about like her, you know, her sexual past, it's almost as if she's looking for sort of absolution from it. Like she's looking for, like, you know, I had all these past indiscretions when I was on the cock carousel, or I had all these, you know, back in my party years, I was so different. Well, it's all, you got to understand, like, okay, how old is the girl you're talking about?
I'm 25. She's 25.
She's 25. Okay, so she's not quite up to the epiphany phase just yet.
Get there quick.
Yeah, but well, I'm just going to say, it's usually the epiphany phase really starts right around 27, 28 sometimes. Certainly she's already into it by 29 to 31. But sometimes women will start, you know, thinking, I kind of think it depends on what that woman's attractiveness is, and really like how kind of self-conscious she is about things. You know, 25, 26 years old, she might still be in her party years, but she's starting to realize that the party years aren't going to last forever. So sometimes there's this need for absolution. And what I mean by that is, like, it's almost like she's confessing her sins, you know, like she has to do that before she can feel better about, you know, creating rules for you, or she can feel better about like having, like, it sounds to me like she sees you as at least somewhat alpha. But I think that when they start talking about, you know, past sexual experiences, I think really it's so that, you know, maybe it's so you know what she's all about, or maybe what her, you know, women don't really have introspection very often. Okay, it takes something very significant to inspire and incentivize a woman to insight and introspection. And so sometimes when a woman is talking about her sexual past, a lot of this is almost like an attempt at introspection because she feels like she has to around you. And I think the question you need to ask yourself, if you are in this position, is why does she feel like she has to do that? The medium is the message. Always remember that, because that's a behavior. Even when a woman talks about something, even when she's bullshitting about something, that's still a behavior. And you have to understand, why is that behavior happening, and what is she trying to resolve with that behavior?
And I'll end this one off on, keep it simple.
Yes.
Like, yes, all that stuff is right. So let's put it this way. It's going to be almost impossible to find a good-looking girl at this point who doesn't have a couple miles in her. That's fine.
A couple.
Boundaries are the key here. Well, no, it's boundaries. Like you said before, if I heard you right, it was, I don't want you to talk about that. What I would suggest as a better way of phrasing it is, I don't want to hear that shit. Do you understand? Do you see the difference there? Mm-hmm. One is telling her what you want her to do, a control thing. And I have not known a girl yet that you tell what to do and they won't do the opposite just for the sake of it. The other one is just what you are and what you're not going to put up with. And at that point, you just give her enough rope to hang herself with. And it's just standard boundary enforcement. Look, babe, I don't want to hear about that shit. And she'll drop it. And if she doesn't drop it, like I said, you've only got 3 tools. You've got your affection, your commitment, and your comfort. And you don't have a stick, so you just remove the carrot. And I just say keep that simple. And if it's the kind of thing that she just needs a one and done, and she learns how you would like her to act around you, and she respects you enough to do that, that's fine. And if not, well, like Rolo says, medium is the message. She's testing your boundaries, and so you got to enforce them.
That's another thing that I think guys don't really get. When I wrote medium is the message, they kind of just applied that to women's behaviors and actions, and they wanted to read what that woman was telling them by their behaviors, but it also applies to men. So when you are trying to send a message, remember that your behavior also sends a message, and your medium is also a message. And one of the things I always tell guys is when they're trying to establish boundaries, or they're trying to say, you know, because constantly get this, oh, it's important to set boundaries and you got to be tough and and it's like, okay, that's fine, great, but don't turn that into an ultimatum, because ultimatums are just declarations of powerlessness. Demonstrate, do not explicate. And I think too many guys, when they're trying to set boundaries with a woman in a relationship, they want to go, okay, well, this is appropriate and this is not, and they revert back to this egalitarian bullshit that they've learned from the blue pill. And it's like, well, open communication is the key to a good, healthy relationship. Bullshit. You need to be able to demonstrate it. So when a woman does something, you don't go, hey, I don't like that, and stop doing that. You go, you make it clear by your behaviors that that's not appropriate. And so you're going to send a much stronger message if you can demonstrate boundaries rather than explaining boundaries to them. It's like, well, what do they have to be a mind reader? Yes. And you have to be a mind reader too, constantly. And people say, well, I don't want to play that game. I want to put everything on the table and reason it out with her. Yeah. How's that working out for you?
Reasonable.
How is when you appeal to reason with a woman, you're never going to make as significant an impact as you will with your own behavior and demonstrating what those boundaries are, as opposed to saying, "Oh, here's the boundaries."
I don't get it. I told her what my pet peeves were, and she pokes me with them every time she wants me mad. I don't get it.
Exactly. And then it's okay. I'm going to go out on a girls' night out. Okay, great. And you're not there when she comes back. That's a pretty good demonstration of what your boundaries are for, what you're willing to accept and what you're not willing to accept. So remember that your medium is also a message to her.